Oh, it's a mock day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a mock day. Actually, it's just a mock morning. Be clear with everyone. I have grand plans. Took some time yesterday in the afternoon and evening, come up with some really cool ideas for the show. Not sure that later today is going to be when those get deployed. I do, just looking ahead, because the mock isn't starting here for about 2 more minutes. I'm on Yahoo's timer, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're going to do something with ADP for later today because I've got that Google sheet that's tracking all of the ADP shifts. And there's some interesting names that are jumping out as leapers, fallers, risers, all that kind of stuff. So I think we'll probably get into that a little bit later on today. While we're waiting for the mock to start, it's $1:45 away. Please do take a moment to hit that like button here on YouTube. That's a big deal. Stop, hit it. There you go. You did it. Good job. Subscribe, no matter how you're taking in the show. Wait, you can do it. Go ahead. There you go. You did it. And if you happen to be taking in the show on Apple or Spotify, those 5-star reviews really do go a long way. So please do drop those on the pod. I'm Dan Bespris. This is Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. You can follow me on Twitter at Dan Bespris. You can follow Old Man Squad. Same thing. I'm Dan Bespris, and they are Old Man Squad. That's the two Twitter handles. Old Man Squad approaching 1,200 Twitter followers already, so that's kind of fun. And it'll follow you back if you're a real person. If you're a bot, it might not. And if you're a bot and you're listening, you sneaky devil, how you doing that, bot? My goal, by the way, in today's mock draft, just to set the table a little bit for you, I have the 6th pick, which I think is one of the tougher spots to have. And I am hunting a well-rounded team this time. Every other mock, everybody's always punting something. And that's okay. But ultimately, at kind of the end of the road for me, I prefer a well-rounded, at least start to my draft. Now, maybe we get 6-7 rounds deep and it's like, oh my God, I'm really terrible at this one category. And then maybe you lean into that being terrible. But that is not at all my goal from the outset here. I will be looking to build a team that is strong in as many categories as humanly possible. And I'll tell you why as the mock gets underway here now. Basically, the reasoning for that is you can rack up regular season wins. Wemby, Jokic go 1-2, by the way. The mock is underway. Wemby, Jokic, Shea, top 3. Then Luka's going to be going 4 here in a minute. And so there's this disparity, this discrepancy, and it's already at me. Luka, Halliburton. I'm not going Giannis, and I'm not going Embiid in a team where I want the club to be somewhat well-rounded. Tatum, Anthony Davis are probably the 2 choices here, and more than likely I'm going AD at the 6th spot. I don't want to go Trey. He's not well-rounded enough. KD is well-rounded, but I think you can get better value out of Anthony Davis. Just a boost in certain stuff, and I'll make up the 3-pointers and free throw later on. So we'll go AD to start. That's going to be our well-rounded base creature. I'm going to need to get assists and threes and scoring along the way and free throw percent. So we'll probably deal with that in the second round. But and again, more on the sort of idea of the well-rounded draft. I think we've stopped doing it. And some of that's because to win a head-to-head playoff run, you kind of need to be punting something. Well, actually, let me amend that statement. I don't know that you need to be. It helps. It definitely helps because then you can just sort of sit back, attack 5-6 categories, and good to go. But the nice thing, again, about being well-rounded is that if you run into teams that are doing specific punts, you may be good enough in other categories to overwhelm them. They might be a punt whatever team, and they might be really, really, really good in 3 or 4 things. But those things that they're not like world beater level on, if you're good in those, you can beat them. But if you're punting something and someone else is punting something, you guys run into each other. Well, then you're up a creek. Anyway, it's almost coming back to me now, so I better get myself ready. Second round is going to be kind of complicated here because the good ones are already off the board, and I'll talk about them in a minute. I don't want Kyrie. I don't want Anthony Edwards. I don't think that's the right fit, although it's not a terrible fit with Anthony Davis. Just, again, not a ton of assists. Not really the big assist guys that are near me here, so I might have to think about trying to pivot into that in the third round. Sabonis is a weird fit with Anthony Davis. Suddenly, my team looks very bad at three-pointers in that instance, but very good in some of the other stuff. I would lean more towards a Scottie Barnes here at 19. I think Dame, who actually just came off the board, would have been pretty good here. LeBron is not a terrible fit, although two Lakers is sort of a questionable decision. So probably going Scottie Barnes. He's similar to Domantas Sabonis, weaker rebounds, better shot blocking. I have a nice sort of well-rounded team right now. I got put into auto pick because I took too long. Other options there. I mean, LaMelo is an option there, but I don't trust him to stay upright all year. I want to try to minimize risk a little bit here, given I'm playing this one like a head-to-head, well-rounded team. If I didn't have Anthony Davis, LeBron, I think probably would have been a reasonable pick there because you get the assists. I don't really want De'Aaron Fox. I think he takes a small step back, so that wasn't a reasonable pick at 19. Chet is probably going to land somewhere in that neck of the woods, but I already got blocks in really good shape, so that would have been more of the like lean into a build kind of play. And then Jalen Brunson, I think, is getting dramatically overdrafted. It's going to be hard for me to show the draft board when you're in the middle of the round because my pick just keeps looping back around, but I'm going to do my best to get it up there here in the not too distant future. And then I'll give you guys some picks because at a certain point we'll be able to set a queue and I won't have to talk about each thing that's happening. It's coming back around to me again. I picked 30, and there's a lot of guys left on the board that I still think are really, really good values here, and they're still there. Frankly, Brunson at 30 is not a bad choice. Fox at 30 is not a bad choice. Now, the assists are back in the mix again. Maxey at 30 is not a bad choice. Markkanen has a little bit of risk around him, but he's not a bad choice there. Probably don't dip down much farther. There goes Markkanen. So, one of the three guards is going to be here. And there we go. So Brunson still there. I don't want Brunson at 19 or 20, but I'll happily take him at 30. He's a very well-rounded guard. My field goal percent doesn't take a hit. I do get a nice free throw bump, which my team kind of needed. I get some threes, not a truckload, not a ton of defensive stats, but that was already very good. So this is actually a pretty good fit for my team. Let me show the draft board to those that are watching, just so you guys can see all the names. We'll go through them in a little bit. Freddie VanVleet goes at 32. He was my other. He would have been my choice there if the other guards were all gone. And I love VanVleet. I think, frankly, he might finish ahead of Brunson on the per game side. But what Freddie's really good at, specifically steals, my team was already fine in. I preferred the scoring in this instance because Anthony Davis, Scottie Barnes are not the two biggest scorers on the board. So I wanted to get a little bit more on that side. Again, trying to build a well-rounded team. Let me set a queue, and then we'll go through some of the players that have already gone off the board. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, I don't think he's going to make it to me at 43, but he would be my absolute pinnacle choice here. Because, again, like perfectly well-rounded. Derek White, very well-rounded, but, again, weaker in scoring, which is something I have to be cognizant of. Jalen Johnson, a great choice. The fact that JJJ is still on the board, he should be going by 43. So should DeJounte Murray. Like, there are a lot of guys here at the top of the page that are fine in the mid-40s. Desmond Bane would have been fine, although he got picked, like, literally as I was clicking the little star next to his name. I don't know that I have to think too hard about the fit right now. My team is pretty good at almost everything. Threes are a bit weak. Otherwise, like, pretty good at almost everything. There goes my guy, Jalen Williams, so that wasn't going to happen. 1, 2, 3, 4 picks before me. One of these guys is auto-drafting, which is a shame. All y'all on Twitter said you were going to be here for it. Pissed me off now. Jimmy Butler is also a possibility at 43. I know Anthony Davis is more of an injury risk, but he's sort of like a make or break kind of thing. Jimmy Butler is that, like, we know he's going to miss 15 games. But I think contract year Jimmy Butler is actually relevant. Most of these guys, it doesn't really matter. Jimmy drives angry sometimes. So there goes JJJ. I still got some choices on the board here. I don't think I really want to go past Butler, and I don't think I have to. Because it looks like there's only 2 picks left before me. And then I'm going to read off some stuff, get out of strategy, and do a little bit of rapid fire on that thing. There goes Paolo and DeJounte Murray. So Derek White, Jimmy Butler are the 2 guys at the top of the board. I probably need the scoring more than I need the threes. You can get threes later. But either one of these is a really good choice. Man, my team is weak in threes. I'm gonna have to eat it and just make sure I get the threes later. So we'll go with our first risk in the 4th round. Jimmy Butler. There's so much per game upside there that I don't know how you go another way. Looking back at the top of the board, the first round was Wemby, Jokic, Shea, Luka, Halliburton, AD. That got to me. Second half of the first round was Giannis, Tatum at 8, Embiid at 9, Trey at 10, Steph at 11, KD at 12. That back group tends to go in the same general grouping, but sometimes the order gets flipped around. Second round, here comes your lightning round. Spida, Booker, Harden, third in the second round. He's going early second round now. We've done enough to hype him up. Anthony Edwards goes 4th in the second round. Then Dame pretty early. Kyrie, that was too early on Kyrie for me, but I think that was an auto pick. Then I took Scottie Barnes. Domantas Sabonis right after me. LaMelo, Chet, LeBron, and Paul George. That was the second round. So let's go back here. I've got a pick coming up relatively soon. Now I'm just hunting guys that I think are that I just want on my fantasy team. So looking at the names that are on the board, Emmanuel Quickley at 54 is a good choice. I mean, even John Morant at 54 is not a bad choice. He's going to blow a hole in turnovers for my team, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we could go down that path. I don't want Jalen Duren. We're getting into this. Man, I hate the 50 to 60 range. It might even behoove me to go down and go Darius Garland. Although if you're going punt turnover, maybe you go Ja. Those guys are both going to get a bunch of assists. Do I want the scoring threes more? Or do I want the free throw percent more? Jimmy Butler, Jalen Brunson, those guys did a lot to lift my free throw number up. Maybe I'm just thinking about who I feel would have a better per game appeal. I don't really want Rudy Gobert. My team, starting with Anthony Davis and Scottie Barnes, has a pretty good defensive stand here. Rebounds are fine. So there goes Quickly. So Garland is the top guy on my queue right now. I like Tobias Harris, but this would be a little early. I just know that Garland wouldn't make it back. I don't want Duren, Miles Bridges, Zion, Siakam, Gobert, Ingram, Claxton, Levine, Ayton. How far I'm going to go down the board at 54. So it's going to be Garland, which, again, mind you, very early on him. But, I'm not going to find the assists all that often later. Mike Conley is the sort of only late assist guy that's not going to ruin your team someplace. The problem, too, with doing these mocks with my Twitter followers is that there goes Tobias Harris. By the way, 3rd round, 4th round. Let's see if I can rapid fire these to you. Kawhi started the 3rd round. That team had Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Then Şengün, Bam, Lauri Markkanen, Cat, and then I took Brunson. Fox, Van Fleet, and Cade. Maxey was a run of 5 straight point guards, basically. Desmond Bane and Evan Mobley. That was the 3rd round. 4th round, Jalen Williams. Screw you. Miles Turner, Jalen Johnson. Screw you, too. JJJ, DeJounte, Paolo. So, again, perhaps got a bit lucky with what appeared to be an auto pick. And then I got Jimmy Butler, although I don't think they were going to go Jimmy there anyway. Franz, Derek White, Vooch, Jaylen Brown, and Jared Allen. It's too early on Vooch. I don't like that one at all. And the 5th round, I guess we can play catch-up here. Jamal Murray, Mikal Bridges, DeMar DeRozan, John Moran, Emmanuel Quickley. So a lot of the guys that I liked went off in that 5th round. Then me, Darius Garland, Jalen Duren, midway through the 5th. Not bad, but still too early in my eyes. Then Tobias Harris, screw you too. Gobert, Devin Vassell, DeAndre Ayton. That gets us now current with the draft board. So that means I got to pull up the draft board now and start setting a queue again. It's coming back around to me in a couple of picks. I don't like the names at the top of the board, not for a well-rounded team. Zach LaVine in the late 60s is not a bad choice. So we'll throw him in the queue. Mark Williams for my next center here is not a bad choice. There are still a few centers left that don't blow up your percentages, so I don't have to get him. And there he goes. I got to start doing these drafts without Twitter followers. You guys suck, man. Who else would I take at 67 and feel okay about? Not many of these guys. It's thinning out a bit. Michael Porter Jr. a little early, but I could make that trek because he's well rounded. If I wanted to go Brooke Lopez and do the blocks thing, I don't really. Beal, I think, beats this mark. D'Lo is probably pretty close to this mark. But I just did the Darius Garland, point guard too early thing. So I don't know that I want to do it again with D'Angelo Russell. This is a group. This is a chunk of players that I don't trust. And I'm hoping that some of these guys in the next group make it back to me, but I also don't know that they will. We're getting far enough along, by the way, that Miles Bridges starts to make sense. I'm not targeting him in any way, and I don't really want him on my fantasy team. And there he goes. So Brandon Ingram gets auto drafted. I'm debating between Zach LaVine and Michael Porter Jr. I have one. Jimmy Butler, sort of like the big risk guy. MPJ is not particularly risky. He does hit a lot of threes at a good clip. So we'll go Michael Porter Jr. He's not going to beat this mark. He won't beat 67, but he's also not going to lose to it by very much. Where LaVine, all sorts of things could go wrong. Bigger per game upside, no doubt, in Zach LaVine than MPJ. But is he going to play? Is he going to get traded? Like the path for Zach LaVine is very scary, and I liked him more when he was going about 8 to 10 picks later. So the board is moving pretty quick. Kudos, by the way. This mock is punching along. Might get through this thing in a half hour. That'd be swell. There goes Beal. Drew Holiday going a little bit early. Like everybody's doing the same thing. If Zach LaVine makes it back to me at 78, I'll do it. He didn't. Spoiler alert. He's off the board. D'Lo at 78 is a good pick. So he's back in the mix here. Isaiah Hartenstein at 78, I think, is a really good pick. I'm willing to make the jump there and go a little early on him. The rest of these guys are not my favorite. Valanciunas, I do need this next center, and I don't want Capella, and I don't really want Nurk. We got a couple picks coming before me. I would love it if one of my centers made it back, and I would love it to be Hartenstein, but I also don't believe that it's going to be. Someone's going to take him here because, all these people follow me on Twitter and the podcast, and so I'm doomed, right? Am I doomed? Julius Randle goes. Might squeeze through here. All right, Mikey. Come on, Mikey. Let me get myself some Hartenstein. I'm just counting it down, watching the timer. It's one of those moments. Hey, he made it. All right, so I'm going Hartenstein here. Brilliantly well-rounded center. Doesn't score a ton, but he'll score a little bit more this year than he did last season. Points are not my strong suit on this team. I'll admit, like in terms of well-roundedness, points are not great. Defensive stats are solid. Rebounds are now, I think, pretty darn good. Like even my guards can rebound a little bit, but Barnes, good rebounds. Anthony Davis, huge. Jimmy Butler, fine. Michael Porter Jr., pretty darn good. Isaiah Hartenstein, he's going to get a bunch of boards this year also. I could probably stand to have one more guy that can rebound or one more guy that can assist. But that's the thing. I'm just trying to be very good in as many things as humanly possible in this draft. So now we're just value hunting. I got pick 91 coming up. Who's a guy I want? Who's a guy that I think could beat this mark? And I don't see many of them left. Like, I don't really want Capella. I don't really want Kobe White. I don't really want Kyle Kuzma. Not for a well-rounded build. I don't trust Chris Middleton. Pirtle, this is too early, and I don't want to hurt my free throw number because that was a weak point early on, and I sort of made up that ground now. And, like, you can look at the standings board. It's going to be confusing, but, like, my percentages are pretty good. Both of them. My threes are not. My points are mid-pack. My rebounds are solid. My assists are mid-pack. My steals are very good. My blocks are very good. And, of course, this is basing on the Yahoo stuff. My turnovers are very low, so that'll be near the top of the board. So I got kind of like a weird team. It's not a team that's probably going to be all that outstanding in head-to-head. I do still need to shore up the three-ball thing. MPJ, Garland, and sort of Brunson, like these guys are not going to be enough in the modern NBA. So things to think about as we move our way through this thing. My pick is coming up here. I can't screw around for much longer yammering on the podcast. I don't want Anthony Simons. He's going to hit a ton of threes. That's true, but He's a field goal percent train wreck. It doesn't really do anything else. Who are the guys that could even be better than top 90? Like, you gotta start doing some hunting. Herb Jones for some threes, a lot of steals, and efficiency. Doesn't really help my scoring, though. And the scoring might just be a lost cause at this point. Like, Terry Rozier, by the way, not a terrible choice. Kobe White, as much as I don't really want him, not a terrible choice. So there goes RJ Barrett. In the 90s, I don't trust Jalen Suggs all that much either. I think I'd rather go with one of these guys that's around 100 or a little bit later. I think Bogdan Bogdanovic beats this marker. Herb Jones, Caruso, a lot of these guys beat the marker here. But we'll go Kobe White because I need the counting stats, and I don't trust the Bulls, but he's going to go and he's going to chuck away. So that'll help my team in this stuff that I'm very weak in. And, look at the standings board from a minute ago to now. Kobe White just rocketed me up the board because he brought the stuff that my team was particularly awful at. Threes, scoring, some assists. And I had such a runaway lead in steals, and my team is very, very good in blocks. Not top of the board, but very good, that not targeting those for a minute wasn't really a big deal. Here's the draft board for those watching. I don't think the folks listening care about the exact order that this stuff is going in. I'll do a very quick recap on sort of notables when I have a moment. Like notables, for instance, if we look at the 6th round, I don't think there were any real notables there. Reeves went really early in this one. So did Drew Holiday. 7th round, nothing out of the ordinary, really. 8th round, Ivica Zubac went really early here. Early 8th round, which I think does wipe out a lot of his value. Chris Paul, early 8th round, probably wipes him out there extremely early on RJ Barrett. That's a punt free throw team, so I get it, but I don't think anybody was taking that dude for a minute or two later. It's coming back around to me again. There just isn't really that much time for me to stare at the draft board. So now I'm hunting upside. We're into the 9th round. There are still some guys left on the board that are like kind of sure bet types. Like Terry Rozier is a good basketball player. He should just be drafted by this point. Even if you don't think he's going to have a good season, his fantasy game is just better than a lot of the guys floating around out there. But once those types are gone, which they're drying up now, as Amen Thompson goes at 100, by the way. Walker Kessler went at 97. Denny Avdia went at 99. Folks are getting a little bit wild and woolly here. I pick 102. Like, I kind of have to just take Terry Rozier. He was not on my target board. But if he's going to go this late, I've got no choice. I don't need to get into Flyer Town yet because my 9th round pick is just a starting shooting guard in the NBA who has steals and scoring ability and some assist ability. And if Tyler Hero goes down or Jimmy Butler goes down, Jimmy will, and Tyler probably will, then Rozier jumps up the board. I don't hate him. I just don't think there's any value where he's getting drafted, typically. But he went late, so screw it. Keontae George at 104. That's a saucy play. Okongwu, Caruso, hell, even Draymond Green makes sense at 115. Like, there are still sure bets out there. Caruso's a sure bet. Draymond is a sure bet. Mike Conley, in my eyes, is kind of a sure bet, even if it's a quiet, boring one. There he goes. He just went at 106. Colin Sexton is more or less a sure bet at 118. Not to be great, but to be useful. But I'm getting a bunch of guards here late in the draft, kind of surprisingly. Pardon me. Got the sniffles here late in the mock draft. Okongwu and probably Daniel Gafford way down the board are probably the last 2 full season centers that won't ruin your free throw percent. Obviously, Al Horford is on my list. Gary Trent, KCP as the safe buttress type players. There goes Okongwu and Caruso. So best laid plans on those guys. I don't want Chris Middleton on my team at all. But if he makes it to 115, I probably just have to take him. By the way, the team that was auto-drafting early, I think that maybe they were setting their queue and then, here but not here. By the way, this feels like a great spot for me to just shut up for 10 seconds and take a commercial break also. Oh my God. Come back from the break to these dickheads. So Okongwu, listen, Conley, Caruso, Okongwu, Sexton, Draymond, Horford. That was the last 6 in a row. I hate mocking against all Twitter followers. I got to change this up. Like this, every round, you guys are just all taking the guys that I talk about on the podcast all the time, which is fine. You guys are learning. And that's the point. But also, it's not real. This isn't how a draft is going to go for me. I'm not going to be drafting against everybody that has my board. All right, who do I think is not going to make it back to me? I mean, I kind of have to do Middleton at 115, don't I? I don't like. I know that ankle surgeries and all that stuff, but he's never going this late. Again, no intention of drafting Chris Middleton, but this is ridiculously late for him to go, and he's a super well-rounded guy. Good percentages, gets points, boards, assists, steals. My team is now suddenly getting weaker in blocks because I haven't taken a big man in forever. But I don't care. I don't care. These guys just keep laying out there because everybody's taking the Dan Bespris list. And you're leaving the guys that, even if I don't like where they're going, like Middleton shouldn't be going 25, 30 slots later than usual. That's too late. Let's see what else is going on here. Here's the draft board, by the way. You guys will have to zoom in a little bit, I think, to see it, but this is what's been going on lately. I still have a few players in my queue, but they're not really the guys that I'm targeting necessarily. They're the guys that I wanted to just click in so I didn't forget where they were on the board. Looking at the top of the board here, it's drying up. Round 10, and so it makes sense. This is pretty much where things get dry. Throw Tari Eason, Dyson Daniels, and throw those guys in the queue so we don't lose them in the shuffle. TJ McConnell can get thrown in the queue. Where's PJ Washington? He's way down here someplace. 193. I'll throw him in the queue also. Asar Thompson just went. Feels like somebody forgot what they were doing. I don't want Jeremy Grant. Even at 126, I don't want him. Tyus Jones. We're getting close to where he'd be worth a look. I'll throw him in the queue also. My team just may be down a center, although somebody take my Gafford. Yeah, somebody took my Gafford. I literally have no more centers on my list, so this is troubling. Well, I screwed the pooch on big men, but I'm just have to deal with it because at this point, I want guys that can be jumpers. And, Tyus Jones, if he plays himself into a good role, he's a possible jumper. And PJ Washington and Dyson Daniels, like these guys are intriguing to me. So we'll go Tyus. And my team is getting real small, which is, I'm not a fan of it. My free throw percent continues to go up. My field goal percent continues to go down. My steals are very good. My assists went from kind of low to near top of the group. Rebounds went from top of the board to right in the middle. Points are now good. Turnovers are mid-pack. Blocks are low mid-pack. I have Hartenstein and I have Anthony Davis, and somehow my blocks are not very good. And Scottie Barnes. And it's because I doinked it. I needed to take one of these other centers before like a Rozier or a Kobe White or a Middleton or a Tyus Jones, and I didn't. Lesson learned. But at this point, I'm probably not going to take another center, at least not specifically because they play center. I'm going to just wait around and hope I can get one. And PJ Washington wouldn't be the worst idea. I know he's not center eligible, but I do have AD and Hartenstein that can clog that up. It'd be good to have a third one, though. But I don't like these ones. The centers that are still on the board are trash. Really garbage. Andre Drummond, backing things up. That's something. But he ain't starting. There are not centers left at this point. I don't want them. Whatever's out there, I don't want them. So, and I'm not going to take one just because they're a center. I'd rather take a player that I'm fantasy interested in. I've got a fantasy about you. I mean, it might be Gary Trent, although, I don't know. Blech. We're into the dregs now, friends. Maybe I'll go Tari Eason. There's a little bit of upside there. McConnell. My team's in good shape in that stuff, though. Although, look, I mean, I need rebounds again. Eason's a brilliant rebounder. I'm not going Drummond. He just ruins too many things that my team is good at right now. But again, hunting a well-rounded team. My team is pretty well-rounded. I didn't stack enough on my early round draft picks. I ended up peeling hard in the other direction, but it works. That's a one way to make a well-rounded team. It's my turn again now. The guys left I'm not super thrilled with. I'm going to go with PJ because I think he helps some stuff that my team wasn't great at. I'm a little boost in blocks. Not enough. My team is great in steals. That helps a little bit in rebounds, a little bit in points, a little bit in threes. Hurts the percentages a tad. Now, this thing thinks that my team is pretty close to the top of the board in terms of overall projections, but you can't rely on that. That's a very rough estimate. So we're in the real trash stuff now. There are a lot of these guys in here that I think are going to do more harm than good. And for that reason, I don't almost nobody. I almost rather have no one than one of these guys on my team. So I'm leaning towards Tari Eason or McConnell, who was very good in the second half last year, but a lot of that was when Benedict Mathurin went down and McConnell actually had to be more of the second unit go guy. I don't think that that's the way this season starts for him, although they did just sign him to a nice extension. Voice is dry today. Dry. A dry voice. Yeah, I mean, everybody else sucks. Andrew Wiggins, you could look at him as a flyer type, but Jonathan Isaac, if you were in a Roto League, Games Cap League, that'd be a flyer type. The rest of these are just farts. I don't want any of these farts on my team. You're going to drop this player, so treat them as such. If Eason is healthy, he's the way I'm going here. We'll see. He's one pick away, and then I'll throw up the draft board, and everybody can take a look at it, and we'll take a look at my team and see what makes sense. Throw these updates out of the way. You guys can have a better look at it right now anyway. That's my queue. Can I still draft out of my queue? All right, so Neesmith went. So I'll go Tari Eason here with my last pick. All right, so this is my team. Anthony Davis, Scottie Barnes, Jalen Brunson, top three. Pretty decent in almost everything besides threes, basically, at that point. Scoring a little bit lackluster. Address that. Jimmy Butler will get some more points, decent scoring guy for the fourth round. Steals addressed, but threes are a disaster now. Darius Garland helps with free throws and threes and assists, so that shores up some of that. Michael Porter Jr. just sort of decent at a lot of stuff. Hartenstein really good at a lot of things out of that center position. And then I started kind of chasing upside plays earlier than expected. I went Kobe White mid-8th. Not a guy I usually target because I usually end up taking a steals guy in that range, but I didn't feel like I needed one in this draft because AD's great with steals, so is Barnes, so is Butler, so is Garland. I felt like, and Hartenstein, frankly. So I felt like I was in pretty good shape on most defensive stats. And then I forgot to get one more guy that can block some shots. So that was sort of the issue here because Terry Rozier fell super late in the next round when I probably should have gone with Okongwu or Draymond or Horford or Gafford, frankly, and taken that next center. I went Rozier. And then even in the next round, Chris Middleton fell so far that I felt like I needed to do it when, frankly, that was my last chance to take Daniel Gafford. So that was the big issue there. In one of those two rounds, 9 or 10, I needed to take a center who wasn't bad at foul shooting that was going to give me that last rebound block shot guy. And I didn't because guys fell farther than I expected. Now, the hope there is that Rozier and Middleton, if this was a real league, end up outperforming their draft slot by so much that either I could move them or someone else, maybe move a different guy that people are more interested in, and shore up the categories that I then sort of neglected for too long, or my team just ends up being really, really, really good in the things that those guys are good at, and I don't need it because I'm making this well-rounded team, and so it ends up being a team that's very, very good in steals, and now scoring is a lot better, and assists and threes and free throw percent, things that were not maybe my best at the start of the draft, and I can rack up regular season wins in that regard. Now, late, I was looking for values. A lot of the really interesting guys were drafted because, again, when I'm drafting against a bunch of my Twitter followers, so they pretty much are operating off the same list that I've been talking about. So there weren't a ton of names left that I was interested in. Like, Dyson Daniels was someone that went off after me in the 11th round. But that was another one where Tyus Jones fell so far, I kind of felt like I just had to do it. But if it wasn't Tyus Jones, it was probably Dyson Daniels for me. And between those two guys, one of them has a way clearer path because we don't really know what Atlanta's going to do. Dyson may start, and he's well-rounded, and there is a little bit more upside there. But the word is, at least out of Phoenix, that Tyus Jones signed with the expectation of starting. He's not going to be what he was last year, but it's hard to find a guy that can get you 5-6 assists this late on and do it efficiently. So, sure. By the time my pick came around in the 12th round, there was really nobody left that I was interested in. So I went down the board for PJ Washington, who I think is an upside play if he happens to have a, better field goal percent this year, and things fluctuate. He's an across-the-board producer. And then Tari Eason in Houston. We don't know who's going to play themselves into basically all of the backup minutes, but all 5 starters, let's say they play 30-some-odd minutes, that still leaves, whatever it is, 90-ish minutes for other people to pick up, and there's going to be scraps to a lot of different guys. But why not Tari Eason? Why not small ball 5, power forward, small forward? He can play all those spots. And Amen Thompson is the other one who can play the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. Like, those two guys may just elevate themselves. What if, I don't know, what if Cam Whitmore is playing so well that they can't keep him off the court? Okay, that hurts all of them. What if they want to give more minutes to Reed Shepherd? Okay, that hurts all of them too. But it's possible that a few guys just sort of play their way in front of the others, and Eason is one of the 2 guys I think that has a decent shot to do that. All right, that's the mock. My team was pretty well-rounded. The Yahoo projections have them listed second, which I'm okay with. I don't know that I fully agree with a few of their computations, but overall, pretty good team. Again, the way that I screwed this up was taking one too many of those falling guards and wings when look at how much ground I could have made up in blocks. I'm like fifth or sixth, it looks like, in blocked shots, and I'm like 8th in rebounds. So if I could have exchanged, because I'm right near the top of the board in steals, I'm right near the top of the board in assists, I'm not catching the punt, like some of these punt turnover assist teams that are going to be in front of me. But I ended up making up a ton of ground in those guard stats. I could have left that off to the side. I could have taken one more big and one fewer guard, and that would have made up a ton of ground in rebounds, which, I'm right behind a couple of teams in rebounds if you're looking at the whole year. At least according to, and I get it, these projections are not that great. But if I rotate out like Terry Rozier for a big man, that jumps me up probably like 4 slots, maybe even 5 in rebounds. And another, I don't know, how close am I in blocked shots? I don't know, maybe not, 1 to 2 points there. So, ROI on that, more well-rounded. Yeah, would have been more well-rounded if I went with a big man there. But I didn't, so whatever. Team was still very well-rounded. Projections had him listed second out of all these clubs, despite a couple of kind of weird things that I would take back. Overall, I think I created a pretty well-rounded team, and I think that team ends up competitive in head-to-head leagues as well. Because, if somebody pulls off the perfect punt, they probably beat me 5-4 in a given week. But most regular season weeks, my team has a terrific chance to win. And if you run into a team that has an injury or doesn't pull off their punt well, you beat them 6-3, 7-2. And that's a great way to get a first-round bye. And in January, February, you can start to lean into your strengths a little bit more if you've racked up enough regular season wins. There are a lot of ways to play this thing. That was just one of them. Coming up later on today, we're going to do something with ADP. Haven't quite made up my mind on exactly what that's going to be yet. I think we're going to do a little ADP show. I got to get the my favorite pick in each round show going. I forgot about that one from last year. That one, everybody loved that show. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. That's a good one to probably stretch through the weekend. So that'll be fun. We'll probably get one more mock going the rest of the week. We still need to do 76 through 100 on the new Yahoo board. And I know I'm forgetting like 2 or 3 other things that I also wanted to cover. But in any event, follow on Twitter at Dan Vespers, at Old Man Squad. Please remember, I hope you guys did it already, to hit the like button on the video. Subscribe, however you're taking it in. Let's keep growing this machine. And I will see you guys later on today. I'm Dan.